If you are Detroit, ouch.
That hurt.
45-31, Washington comes in. I think it was simple. I said it earlier this week. Washington may have the worst team, but they have the better quarterback. And did that ever shine through today? Jayden Daniels, so impressive. Rookie, and Jared Goff is limited. Jared Goff has been carried by this Detroit team, even though he was a top draft pick, and people have failed to acknowledge that. But we saw the difference between a quarterback who just played his ass off and somebody who was overmatched in this game. And that's a gut punch.
Yeah, I think there were 5 turnovers that the Lions had, and 4 of those were Goff caused, unfortunately.
Look at this quarterback comparison in efficiency today. So the EPA per play, where you see 0.45 for Jared Goff or for Jayden Daniels, that means every single time the Commanders drop back to pass with Jayden Daniels, they added almost half a point of value. Jared Goff was a negative, and all the other numbers obviously favored Washington as well. Jayden Daniels is one of the special young players in this league, maybe the special young player in this league. So you have to give him his respect. He was the MVP for this Washington team. How many times, we got to look this up, the fourth downs. I mean, we all talked, you were at the NFC Championship game last year.
Yeah.
And Detroit lost by going for it on fourth down so many times.
Sorry, I cackle because I feel like this is the first game where I've watched Dan Campbell have to go up against Dan Campbell on the fourth down conversion. It was, watching the Commanders go for it. How many times did they go for it? Like 4 or 5 times?
They went for it 4 times. They were 3 of 4. So the Lions were 2 of 2. We saw 6 fourth down attempts between these two teams.
I think the Commanders coach probably was going with the Dan Campbell coffee order. You know, the 2 ventis with the
big Starbucks order.
2 shots of espresso in each one, kind of interchange.
Well, that's Dan Quinn, who's kind of this mellow dude, but I think they understand the analytics. Congratulations to Adam Peters, former 49ers executive. They show up. You were in Washington last year. 49ers played there. This was before they had the big turnover.
This was New Year's, right?
Dysfunctional franchise, New Year's. The stadium still sucks, but maybe they'll get a new one soon. But they cleaned house. New ownership, new GM.
It was like the purge over at Commanders. Yeah. I mean, it was like they really fired a ton of people, and it was an overhaul of epic proportions.
And you see the results. And they brought in Jayden Daniels, this QB who he's really light. So you always kind of cringe when he gets hit. He goes flying like a helicopter. But every single time he took contact, and last week it was like an online joke because he just went flying in that game against Tampa Bay after one of the hits. But when Jayden gets moving in the open field, the lightweight helps him move fast. There were definitely
some big plays he made where he was running for the first down. I think he was running for the first down. He seemed pretty explosive.
We have to say this.
What I saw tonight.
Quarterback play in the NFL isn't easy. So Spencer had a great text to me.
You need to provide people with context.
Spencer's a good guy. He's a coach of the Prague Black Panthers. He's a 49ers fan. And he said,
the Prague Panthers are a football team.
A football team, yes. Not sure if a player's value has ever increased so much in a postseason he didn't play in. He's talking about Brock Purdy. Purdy has proven what all of these guys, except for Mahomes and Matthew Stafford, are trying to prove. So we haven't even seen Brock Purdy play this postseason. Obviously, the 49ers didn't have the team for it this year. A lot went wrong. But I think that it's becoming very, very clear that what he did last January and then into the Super Bowl, where I thought that he outplayed Patrick Mahomes for maybe the whole game. He was more efficient than Mahomes in that game. But what he did against the Packers and then what he did against the Lions, people might have taken for granted. Now you've seen Jared Goff on top of the Sam Darnold implosion.
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud was okay, right?
He was okay, but he looked great. He looked good.
But I'm talking about Justin Herbert last week. I'm talking about Sam Darnold last week. You're talking
about the quarterback
meltdowns. It is not easy to play quarterback in this league. And then even CJ Stroud was sacked 8 times. So you're right there. It's not easy to win on offense in that regard. And look at this. Mike said this. The Lions, Vikings, and Packers went 40-11 in the regular season. Those three teams, the NFC, this division, the NFC North that we were talking about, that was such a juggernaut, 0-3 in the postseason after going 40-11. So the bottom line is that playing quarterback in the playoffs is not easy. And Purdy's value is only skyrocketed when we've seen what's happening.
Let's go back to the NFC North for a second, because I feel like that's really, really poignant right now. I mean, the NFC North were kind of like the really scared, like bullies on the block. I mean,
yeah, the point differentials
scary,
were wild.
You know, huge offenses. The Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, and then the poor Chicago Bears. But those teams were pretty dominant across the league during the regular season, and there will be no NFC North team in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl this year. So it really is a week by week, game by game league. I mean, that's just how it is. I know that's not always fair. But when you want to talk about a team like the 49ers, like, we know all about that.
Well, look at this. The Lions were up here. You want to be further to the right and further up.
Always.
So they were in a good spot. The Vikings, they were in the upper right quadrant as well. Mm-hmm. They're home now. And the Green Bay Packers were up here.
Yeah.
All three of those, like Mike said, 40-11 on the regular season.
It's insane.
But
0-3 in the playoffs.
0-3 in the playoffs. And it turned in, you just have to give credit. Here are the Commanders, by the way. Offense is on the X-axis. So the Commanders are way up here with some of the best offenses in the game. They didn't have a great defense. They're below average on defense, Y-axis. Mm-hmm. So
the defense was good enough to make Goff, run around.
Yes, the defense. I mean, Goff was bad enough to turn the ball over to give them a chance. But what Washington did is they knew who they were, and they were 4 of 12 on third down, but they were 3 of 4 on fourth down. So they knew that field goals, punts are not going to win this game. Our defense can maybe get a few turnovers, and they did. But they're not going to just consistently stop Detroit. Detroit's going to get the yardage. Mm-hmm. So what Dan Quinn said is, I cannot leave these drives with only 3 points. I have to go out there and I have to go for it.
You have to get touchdowns.
Fortune favors the bold, and he has the quarterback to be able to do it. So, and then you talk about championship windows, and remember Detroit last year, they lost the game against the 49ers in the NFC title, and that they were heartbroken, and they talked about the flight home. And Dan Campbell after the game said, I don't know if we're ever going to be back here again.
Well, this is worse. I mean,
they didn't even make it back.
They were the number 1 seed, and they had home field advantage. So had they won tonight, they would have been home again, for this next week, for this next game.
Yeah, they earned the number 1 seed throughout the course of the regular season. That win against Minnesota at the end was so huge for them. And they sit here and they drop a game against the team with a rookie quarterback in the divisional round. But I think the lesson is that you have to have the QB.
Props to the Commanders. My gosh. I mean, they played hardball today.
They were
awesome. Were gritty. They were scary looking out there.
They hit hard. I mean, even there should have been a penalty on the interception, the pick 6 when they hit Goff on Luvu, but still they were out for blood in the game.
Then there was the face mask that wasn't a face mask that got called on,
which benefited Detroit.
Correct. Yes. So there were a couple of bad calls, but they kind of evened out.
Not unlike the Kansas City game.
We don't need to go back to that.
We can very briefly go back. I put it up on the screen. Blatantly bad officiating. We got more people watching this one right now. So that game earlier today, we said today there are bad calls.
That was embarrassing for the refs.
You want the bad calls to go both ways. And in the Kansas City game, I don't think the Texans were favored by anything.
Completely one-sided. Yeah.
So you look at this and you look at where the Chiefs are. Not that great for a team that only lost 1 game. Look who the Chiefs have to play next. One of these two.
I can't wait. I think they're going to get their ish rocked.
Meanwhile, tomorrow we get to see the Philadelphia Eagles
and the Rams,
who are heavily favored. The Rams are way down here. So that I expect the Eagles to win, but who knows?
We also expected the Lions to win. And then
you know why? Because the better QB, even if the team is not better, the team with the better QB is going to win a lot of the time. And because it's such an important position. So today, Jayden Daniels, a lot better QB than Jared Goff. tomorrow, even though the Eagles might have the better team, I think that Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Stafford's done it before at a Super Bowl.
We'll see.
Level,
I mean, both of these teams have won. Both of these quarterbacks have won Super Bowls.
Hurts lost, but narrowly to Mahomes.
Okay, I keep forgetting. I always, that was the first of Kansas City's.
He hadn't been nearly as good since then.
He's. Do you think he's kind of slowly fading into the background?
I think the defenses have figured it out. I think ultimately in this league, you have to be able to play from the pocket. Like running around will only get you so far. You have to be able to sit there and carve defenses up because they're going to adjust to you if you're running around.
Sure.
And the only consistently successful way of playing quarterback is to sit there in the pocket, scan the field, find your receiver, and deliver. And Stafford has made a living doing that for over a decade. I think that somebody like Jayden Daniels is going to be a superstar because he can do that and he can run. Jalen Hurts can do a little bit of both, but he's not great from the pocket. Once you make him throw and just kind of sit there, if you can constrain him to the pocket, there have been limitations.
I think LA is going to have a bit of an ego boost with all of the fires that have been going on. I think there's kind of like a rally around the flag effect with the Rams of, this community's gone through a ton. I know I kind of like just went totally off course here.
I mean, they looked really good last week, and
they looked so good last week. And I think I think there's a lot of like community pride that's going to like push them on to really play their best.
Well, it's not easy to go there into Philly and get the job done.
God, it's never easy to go into Philly.
They do have their man, Matthew Stafford, who played a really clean game last week. Let's open up some questions, go through some of these. And you've got people agreeing with you. Yeah, somebody saying there's something to that, Margot. So, I mean,
thank you.
We'll see. It's every game takes on a life of its own. Today's game took on a certain life because Jared Goff was making huge mistakes, and it turned into a turnover-prone game for a Lions team. Go ahead.
What's our weather in Philly?
It might be snowing tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, is Jameis Winston going to come out and do snow angels?
It's too bad that he's not on one of these rosters. We saw, it was crazy. We saw Teddy Bridgewater play for a series today. That was the backup QB for the Lions who was coaching a high school team throughout the entire regular season. Came out of retirement to sign as the backup QB of Detroit. And then Goff got knocked out briefly.
It would have been a better movie if they
won. They did score a touchdown on that crazy reverse trick play.
So Dan Campbell had some funny trick plays up his sleeve. I think that the wagon kind of fell off.
That's Ben Johnson.
The wheel fell off of that wagon.
That's their offensive coordinator. He's going to get a head coaching job here. Ben Johnson. He's a genius.
Okay. Well, there's madness in the genius. I was on full display tonight.
He saw that he had a quarterback that was an interception machine today in Jared Goff, a fumble and an interception machine. And he said, I've just got to run a bunch of tricks to stay in this game. So they were running the reverse. Then they ran that double handoff. Do you remember that? The handoff and then the pitch forward.
Yes.
Little pop pass. And then they ran the receiver pass that got intercepted. So they ran out of tricks today, I think was the big issue.
Yeah, I think they had great tricks, but I think that, obviously the Commanders were better.
All right, we got a super chat here. People think QB is just about having a strong arm and chucking 70-yard TDs, but I'll take having Brock Purdy as my QB. People don't realize how lucky the 49ers are. I would hope that people realize after watching these playoffs, Jared Goff is not the quarterback that Brock Purdy is. I don't think Jalen Hurts is. We're going to see him tomorrow. I think that Purdy might have two right now in the playoffs. So there's Lamar, Josh Allen, Mahomes. I'm talking about on the NFC side, though. The two that could rival Purdy are Stafford and Jayden Daniels, who's now on the scene. And all these other guys that we've seen in the NFC kind of flame out, they have been unable to recreate the excellence under pressure that Brock Purdy delivered in that postseason.
What does Jayden Daniels' contract currently look like?
Rookie contract, first round pick.
What does that mean?
4 years with a 5th-year option.
I thought rookie contracts were 3 years.
No, 4 years. Rookie coming out of a drafted rookie has a 4-year contract. You're right. In case it's an undrafted rookie or if the rookie's been cut and then re-signed, then it has to be a 3-year deal.
Wasn't Brock's only 3 years?
No, 4 years because you're eligible for an extension after 3. So he's got one more year under the deal, but he's eligible for the extension. And it just so happens that he's not even playing right now, but his value is skyrocketing in a wild way, as Spencer said. We just read his text. in a wild way when he's not playing, because it is illustrated, as this commenter says, how tough it is. Jason asks, does Detroit win with Aiden Hutchinson? I'm not sure.
They didn't seem to win with Goff.
I think Goff is the problem in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the
but I did tweet
weak link today.
This is what I tweeted back in October. I'll just read it really fast, and I retweeted it. The Lions can certainly score, but especially without Hutchinson, they will be constantly vulnerable to losing shootouts against good teams.
Oh, that aged nicely. Look at you.
I mean, to win.
He's so smart.
To win these games in the playoffs, you have to be balanced, or you have to have a great quarterback.
Yeah.
And usually, even if you have a great quarterback, you're not going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think the Washington Commanders play good defense, but Jayden Daniels is really damn good.
Yeah. Well, with Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, maybe the score is like 38-45 final versus
it was
45-31.
It is. Well, it was.
I'm saying if they had Aiden Hutchinson, they may not have lost by so much.
I think you probably hold maybe 7 points less for Washington.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, Detroit is so beaten up defensively that it's not just one guy missing. It's like 8 guys hurt, and then they have more injuries during the game.
They've been losing guys left
and
right. Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury, we could talk about Ben Johnson all we want, the offensive coordinator of the Lions, but the OC of Washington also called a great game to expose what was happening on the other side. I mean, if we look at this game statistically, it was wild. Lions had 521 total yards. Washington had 481. So essentially,
there was so much action.
1,000 yards of combined total offense. The gaudy average per play numbers here. If you go to the offensive stats only, 200 rushing yards for Detroit, 182 for Washington. Jayden threw for 300. Goff threw for 300. But the big difference, 3 interceptions. Yep. Jayden played a clean game. It always comes down to turnovers. So I don't think Detroit wins with Aiden Hutchinson because Jared Goff melted down. You have to take care of the football. I mean, it all comes down to that.
This was definitely the most
This is a good one.
Game.
49ers fans would have hated watching Montana play if they think Purdy isn't good. There were 49ers fans and writers, like, people embarrassed themselves throughout the Montana years. It didn't age well at all. So appreciate what you have. If you can win games in the postseason, if you can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the postseason, the way that really nobody really has since 2020, I would say, when, Burrow is really good. But in 2020, Brady, who broadcast the game, the Bucs beat the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. But it's been a while since Kansas City has lost the postseason. They're trying to go for their 3rd straight title. And the way that Purdy went toe-to-toe with Mahomes last year to take them to the Super Bowl was impressive in and of itself. So was the way that he beat Goff and the Lions, beat Jordan Love and the Packers. You're watching it here. A lot of guys not playing well at the quarterback position.
There's just a lot of eye-opening that's happening right now in the playoff season of, you can be great in the regular season, and then the playoffs, it's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother matrix.
On the topic of QBs, if you have your pick of any QB to build a franchise around, where do you think Purdy and Daniels rank? Build a franchise around? So you're talking about young guys? I think
he's talking about like a cornerstone.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking about age, because cornerstone means that you're going to want somebody that's going to stick around for a while. So you wouldn't necessarily build around Matthew Stafford since he's an older quarterback, right?
Sure.
So I think Josh Allen is still young enough. It's a balance
of experience and youth, right? Like, I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is super aged.
Yeah, and that's really affecting his play at this point now too.
Yeah, I mean, like in theory, somebody like Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback to build a franchise off of, but he's kind of already been there and done that. He did that with Green Bay, and the other pieces weren't in line for the Jets to make any of that happen for that franchise. I don't know. Maybe that's not relevant.
We're
talking about age versus
they had a top 5 defense
talent.
Last year. If Rodgers had been better, everything would have been in line, but he's too old. I think that's what you're saying.
I'm saying like there's a balance between like young talent, age, experience, and talent.
Yes.
And all 3 of those things, you have to have a nice balance to really have a good
QB, have a cornerstone
to build a franchise
around. So Purdy is somebody that you want to build a franchise around?
In my humble opinion.
No, you're right. Purdy, Jayden Daniels.
My 3 favorite words. You're right.
I think that Jayden Daniels is even faster than Purdy. Purdy's got a great burst, but Jayden Daniels is straight up fast. Josh Allen is still relatively young on the AFC side.
What is he? Is he like 32?
No, Josh Allen's in his 20s.
He's in his 20s?
Yeah, Josh Allen entered the league in 2018.
When
so he was probably 22 in 2018. So he's going to be close to 30, but he's not going to be 32.
I feel so old.
Yeah, Josh Allen he's still in his 20s. And
I'm only 31.
And QB, don't tell people how old you are. Come on. You could say that I'm older than Josh Daniels.
I'm older
than Josh Allen. You're older than Josh Allen and Jayden Daniels. You're significantly older than Brock Purdy too.
Brock only Purdy's 25. A squish.
Yeah. But all those guys I'd build teams around. Lamar Jackson is interesting because he's great, but I think you have to build a specific system around somebody around any quarterback, but especially around Lamar, which the Ravens have done a great job of. But that whole Harbaugh system started with Roman. Now it's on the Munkin. That's been really good. And then, people don't talk about it enough, but Patrick Mahomes is playing in a really good system with Andy Reid. Especially this year, they're not doing anything explosive.
They're not doing anything.
They're getting calls. That's about what's happened.
No, I think Daniels and Purdy rank pretty high.
Michael Powers says hello. Remember him?
Hello.
Michael P was at the Nashville meetup. Good guy.
Good to see you, Michael. Well, hear from you.
We'll look at a couple more. We'll see what Micah said. And then, Josh Allen's 28. I added it up. I said 22 when he entered the league in 2018, and we're 7 years after that. He's 28 years old.
I'm never mentioning my age on this show ever again.
I can't believe that you went there. Purdy is a squish.
I don't know. You cannot
a squish means somebody that's really young.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's only 25 years old.
Like a little, you want to pinch their cheeks. A squish.
A little squish.
Yeah.
Gopher Baroque is great. He has awesome. Do you get the name there? Gopher Baroque.
Gopher Broke, but it's Gopher he like the animal. Broke. That's very clever.
It's an incorrect question to ask which QB you would want on your team. It should be which QB is the best fit for your team. Yes.
Snap.
And that's why the 49ers are going to pay Brock Purdy because he's the best fit for their team. Patrick Mahomes is a great fit for Kansas City. Lamar Jackson for Baltimore. It is about the player and it's about the system. Now, I think Jared Goff is a decent fit for Detroit, but if they want to get better, they're going to have to get better quarterback. His limitations were on full display today. I mean, he even with a great run game, Jared Goff turned it over. Brock Purdy has never thrown 3 interceptions with a 200+ yard run game.
Really?
No. The time when Purdy threw the 2 picks against Detroit today, they came on 16 consecutive throws. It came because Kyle Shanahan abandoned the run game. When you put your quarterback into
on fire.
When you put your quarterback into great position to succeed, that means you have a good run game going. You diffuse the pass rush. The quarterback needs to succeed. He can't throw 3 picks.
Yeah, there's sunshine and rainbows and butterflies. Everybody's so happy.
Well, it should have been for Detroit, but it wasn't today.
Oh, yeah, no, that was sad.
Yeah, so it all kind of came crashing down, but it's all about fit and ultimately talent and fit should go well together. But there's certain types of talent, which means that the fit has to be specified for that talent. All right, let's.
Hey, Isabel had a question about the Ravens. It
wasn't about the Ravens. I'll have you.
Oh, it wasn't?
Read the question to yourself before you decide if you want to talk about it.
Okay. No, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, we're
sorry.
It was not about the Ravens. They play tomorrow against the Bills. I thought
it was a game, a technical question. It was not.
Joe says Detroit, Washington, and the Eagles all can't stop the run.
Eagles.
We focus on getting our lines right to run and stop the run, and we are back, according to Joe. I think that it is important. He has to stop the run. And the 49ers this year, the run defense the past 2 years has not been where it needs to be. Adam Peters feeling good about the team that he has put together. I would feel good too. I think that when you have a QB that can do this,
the number 1 seed in your division at an away game,
and this is just the beginning.
To go to the NFC Championship, yes, I would feel good too.
This is just the beginning too. This is Jayden Daniels and Scary Terry McLaurin. They call him Scary Terry, good receiver.
Scary Terry,
Diami Brown, and Zach Ertz.
The coolest nickname.
You know what was a huge play in the game today? Zach Ertz recovering the onside kick.
Yeah, that was a big game.
So that was scary Terry situation for Washington. Zach Ertz has been doing it forever. Margot met him last year and she doesn't remember, but
I meet a lot of people.
Yeah, she meets a lot of people, but he was at Stanford.
It's always a blur when it's a game day too. It's just kind of this constant.
So Zach played with Andrew Luck at Stanford, so he's been around the block, for a while.
Oh, he's been around the block.
Yes.
Okay.
He played with Andrew Luck at Stanford. Then he was drafted by the Eagles, and he scored the Super Bowl.
The Schmeagles.
Yeah. He scored
that's Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry.
He scored the Super Bowl winning touchdown for Philadelphia.
Oh, that's great.
In 2017.
Except for the fact that it's Philly.
Yeah, but they're playing the Rams tomorrow. Hey, 49ers fans, I'm curious. You guys want the Rams or the Eagles to win?
I think the question is who could you tolerate not losing?
So,
because ideally I would want both of those teams to lose, but I kind of feel like, okay, so is there like a divisional loyalty that has to be taken into account? Like, okay, so the Rams are representing the NFC West, which is the same division as the Niners. So should the Niners fans have some sort of loyalty to like root for the LA Rams, or is that completely just absolute garbage?
So NFL fans aren't like college fans, and they think that you should cheer against your division more often. It happens like in college
because they want their rivals that they have to play multiple times each year to just suck so bad.
I hear a lot of Niners, and it's just like division rivals because you play them twice every year, usually exact a certain amount of pain on you. No, I put that up there because it says we need a Margot and David off-season podcast. That's a surprise for you.
Oh, cool!
And you're trying to change it, yeah.
I'm like just trying.
We already have an off-season podcast, guys. You got to check it out. It's called the Lombardi Lounge. Woo. So we've been putting some audio-only episodes up. Margot's been on the show in the past. I know a lot of you are watching right now, so this is a good chance to promote it. But anyway, division rivals exact a lot of pain on you, right? Because you play them twice a year, so there's going to be a time when you get got, and then there's going to be a time when you get the division rival. So you end up just hating each other, and you cheer. It's considered blasphemous to cheer for division rival in the playoffs. 49ers fans have hit kind of a dilemma here because they hate the Eagles from the past couple years.
Yes.
But now the Rams, their division rivals, are playing the Eagles. Longtime 49ers fans will tell you, though, it is blasphemous to cheer for the Rams over the Eagles.
Let me ask a different question. Who are you going to cheer for?
I don't cheer for teams.
Because he's a professional. I can cheer for teams because I am not a professional.
I cheer for good football. And I call out good football.
He cheers for drama. He wants to see a good game.
I do like a good game, but I also I cheer for the truth. And I'm a commentator.
Truth.
Yes.
What are you, the Statue of Liberty?
No. So it pisses me off when there's a good performance or somebody plays well and that player doesn't get the recognition they deserve. And it also upsets me when somebody gets way more recognition than they do deserve. I think we've seen a good example here with Goff today. So that's what I go after.
I see where you're coming from, but I feel like you cheer for logic.
I cheer for logic.
You're
that's
the numbers
perfect.
guy.
Yeah.
Like I would say you cheer for logic more than truth. But if you embrace logic, then you should get truth, right?
This is awesome. You're exactly right. The Bears are scheduled to interview Eddie George.
Oh my God, Mr. George.
For the head coaching position. Margot's really excited because Eddie George is a Nashville icon.
Tennessee Titan. We don't have the Tennessee Titans don't have anything to hang their hat on, like nothing. In a couple of years, it's going to be this new, really great, beautiful stadium that all the taxpayers are irritated that they're paying for. But yeah, we've seen Eddie George out in the wild.
And he had the nicest suit on.
Eddie George is spiffy, guys. Like he is very well dressed.
You know whose suit?
But
my new suit. We can't tell people about it yet, though. That I'm trying to get up on that level with the new suit.
You're gonna need to invest in some more suits if you want to be on Eddie George level.
No, with just my one suit. Like if we're just going suit for suit, this new suit's
guys, I really need this YouTube channel to do well so David can afford some Eddie George level suits. Oh man. Yeah, no, we are very proud of Mr. George. I think I'm the only human that's ever called him Mr. George.
Margot's taking over Dave's show. Yeah,
welcome to the Trophy Wife show.
The Lombardi Trophy Wife show. We have any more super chats?
Spin-off.
No, nothing new. Anyway, the score today, Washington 45, Detroit 31. Goff imploded, 3 interceptions. If we want to look at some data from the game.
Why look at data when you can look at a bunch of Lions fans staring into the abyss?
Because I'm Mr. Logic, as you just said. Look, there are 6,600 people watching right now. Did you see that?
I'm so flattered that there are that many people interested in your opinion. I mean, they don't know that I'm going to be on here, so this is all you. I'm just here to make them look back.
Good. Trophy Wife show.
Yeah.
That's one of the commenters.
Dan Campbell crying in the car. Oh, that makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I really respect what Dan Campbell has built there.
Yeah.
I mean, they went from everybody mocking him when he was talking about biting people's kneecaps off to losing a lot of games to winning. But he was right, and it was prophetic last year. Again, I bring this back. He said after they lost to the Niners, he said, it's hard to get back here. I don't know if we'll ever be back here.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. They're not going back to the NFC Championship.
The Washington Commanders are going to the NFC Championship.
And now the Lions, who are obviously more carried by their offensive coordinator than their quarterback, will probably lose their offensive coordinator to head coaching job. That's tough.
That's sad. And that the 49ers have dealt with that too. It's like with great success comes the loss of a lot of your great coordinators. I don't know if that's how that quote goes. I think I'm thinking of a different quote.
No, well, I mean, that's a great quote. And I attribute it to Margot Lombardi with great, and we could put it in italics.
Hanging in the Louvre. Yeah. Hanging in the Louvre.
We're going soon.
We're not going to the Louvre.
No.
That's a tourist
job.
No,
I'm not going to the Louvre, but we'll be in Paris. So it's going to be good. Somebody said the Lions' best shot was in 2023. Yeah, but they ran into Brock Purdy.
Yeah. And the Niners.
Well,
healthy Niners.
It's just funny because everybody's talking about Purdy right now.
No, I know.
We have comments like this in the comment section.
Very excited.
This guy,
blessed with Purdog.
Michael says right here, I'm not going to put this comment up there because I'm not going to be. It's a really nice comment.
That's
from
very
Michael.
sweet.
Yeah, it's a very nice comment from Michael.
Very sweet.
Are we going to Prague soon? Yes, we are.
We're not going to Prague anytime soon. What are you talking about?
We're going this summer.
Okay, well, the summer is not soon. It is currently like 30 degrees outside. Yeah.
I mean,
summer's far away.
To me, that's soon. We're going on more trips before that. Lady Lombardi has a nice ring to it. I'm just reading comments.
Oh, I like that. You can start calling me Lady Lombardi.
It was like watching Darnold implode. I mean, again,
I feel like Darnold's implosion was worse than Jared Goff's implosion. Like just by a little bit. I mean, by like a little sprinkle of.
What did the Vikings manage? Like 9 points? Maybe a little bit more than that?
The Vikings got like shut down.
Yeah, they barely scored. Today we saw the Lions scored 31, and Goff threw for over 300 yards.
Weren't there only like 2 punts? I mean, didn't each team only punt like
combined yards of offense
once or twice?
With Washington's win tonight, every NFC team other than the Dallas Cowboys now will have played in a conference championship game going back to the 1996 season. The Cowboys' last NFC title game appearance was 1995.
I bet Jerry Jones is like shaking his TV right now.
That is crazy.
That man needs to not be everything important to that franchise. He needs to learn how to delegate.
So every NFC
that's
team,
his word of the year.
Like,
it's delegate.
Think of that though.
Delegate.
Every NFC team.
What is that?
The Carolina Panthers.
16. Oh, the Carolina Panthers.
Even they have made the NFC title.
Did they do that with Cam? Did I make that up?
They made the Super Bowl with Cam.
Okay.
War Eagle.
Had to sneak that in there.
Auburn grad.
Woo. We're a basketball school.
So the crowd, Margot, the crowd is turning on me. We want less David, more Margot. There have been about 100 comments right now talking about how they want to kick me off the show. So I'm going to go up and go to bed right now, and you could just run the show.
Yeah, the problem is
yourself.
I wouldn't even know how to end this live right now.
If you guys,
I could probably figure it out, but it would take me a minute, and I don't have all the stats and the knowledge. He has the photographic memory.
Honestly, but let's put it up to a vote. If you guys give me a thumbs up if you want me to walk out of the room and have Margot talk about the game.
This isn't funny. Need Margot draft talk.
Thumbs up if you agree.
I don't know. They're loyal to you.
We'll see if they are.
Yeah, of course they are.
Do a poll, Dave.
Who is Butthead?
There's one. Oh, here come the thumbs up. They're rolling in.
I don't. I'm a passenger princess.
They're only as loyal as their options.
I am a passenger princess.
Have an option now.
He drives in the driver's seat. I can navigate. I do navigate. I'm great with directions. But I enjoy being a passenger princess.
Guys, forget it. I'm not getting up and leaving.
Oh my gosh. Why are there so many thumbs up?
Look, Juan says that Goff losing today made him more confident in Purdy.
See, it's not all terrible. I mean, you look at other teams imploding and you're like, wow, I feel like somewhat emotionally intact after the regular season. Who would have known? Who would have thunk it? I think is not a word. I think that perspective is important. We have to remember too, in the game that Joe Montana won, the 49ers beat the Cowboys in the catch. Joe Montana threw 3 interceptions before the catch. Hey, you're getting a little too high off your own supply. No, I'm not. Someone just said he's not in the driver's seat when he's in the Waymo. No, and if you sit in the driver's seat, they threaten to arrest you. So that's not... if you touch the steering wheel. Did I tell you about that? One time I just nudged the steering wheel. Oh, yeah. And then this wasn't recent, right? No, you weren't in there either. Then they called me. Yeah, they were like, is everything okay? No, it was worse than that. They were like, if this happens one more time, you will be banned from the platform. And I was live. I was doing a live, and they're like, oh, damn, the Waymo's talking back to David. You're going to get I wonder if they can physically remove you from the car. Eject you? Yeah, an eject out of a fighter jet. You'd probably have to sign some forms before they try to do that. Oh my God. Do you want to talk about, how does this loss impact? Let me back up. Let me get my thoughts all in order, because right now they're just flying all over the place. When it comes to draft order, the team that wins the Super Bowl goes last. Is that correct? And then the team. Were the 49ers second to last in the draft order for this past year because they were technically runner-up? Yeah. So they pick 11th this year. Yes. So with all of these different, as teams lose the playoffs, is draft order determined? Do the Lions know their draft order now that they have been more or less from the playoffs? More or less. I think tomorrow's games might determine a little bit more. That? Okay. Yeah, but it's going to be around number 26 or something. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So because they didn't make the final 4. Right. Mm-hmm. So they made the final 8, and I don't know exactly what the tiebreakers and everything will be, but yes, they basically know where they're going to be picking. Yeah. Here's Mike. Here's the draft order. Oh, thanks, Mike. Yeah. Y'all, Mike has the most epic mustache right now. It is insane. I mean, that mustache deserves its own green Mike, room. If you want to make a cameo on the show, hop into the room and I'll put you up on the screen. Only if you want to, though. This is what we got to do. This is gonna be fun. So good. Let's go to the chat. If people want to see Mike, give me a hang loose or a thumbs up emoji if you want to see Mike. I think Mike has at some point the backbone of this whole show. At some point, Mike is gonna have to reveal himself because he is the backbone of the show, and now everybody wants it smash button. At some Mike's mustache, I accidentally FaceTimed him today, and I'm like, "Hey, why are you FaceTiming me?" It was one of those butt calls of I didn't call you, you called me. And then I just saw Mike's mustache, and it was really, really funny. Epic. Some funny comments. Yeah, everybody wants to see Mike. Anyway, here's the draft order. Let's get this open. As of right now, Detroit number 28. Okay. So I think that Mike said, give me a second. All right. We might get Mike on the show. Oh, this is going to be crazy. So
Everybody stay tuned.
Taylor
Nobody
Swift will
leave.
never do a halftime show at the Super Bowl. She is too famous for that.
Really?
Yeah. Someone just said Taylor Swift's going to do the halftime show in San Francisco. And I'm like, there's no way.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think you can have her do one as long as Kelsey is still playing.
Yeah, I think
together.
it's kind of like what we're talking about. Brady and the Raiders. Like, oh, that's not
what
a good
if it's
look.
Niners, Raiders, Super Bowl, and Tom Brady's the announcer?
Oh, my God.
His childhood team, he was a Niners fan against the team that he owns. That'd be funny.
I don't know if I could ever imagine the Raiders in the Super Bowl, but nobody would have said positive things about the Commanders a year ago. So crazier things have happened.
So we are waiting for Mike. Everybody seems to be really happy and excited that Mike is about to come on. Let's talk a little bit about tomorrow's games while we're waiting for him. So first thing I said about this game today was that the 9 or 10 point spread was way too big. I was like, even if Washington loses, they're not going to lose by that much because they're going to score so much. Detroit's defense was too beaten up. That ended up happening. Tomorrow, this is a big spread. Philadelphia by 6.5 against the Rams.
Is that a big spread?
When the quarterback of the underdog is better, then yes. The most important position is QB. I think Stafford is better than Jalen Hurts.
Oh, okay.
So I think, and then the other game is fascinating because it opened up as Buffalo favored by 1 point. And now it's Baltimore favored by 1 point. So basically what happens is so many people bet on Baltimore that it shifted the betting line by 2 points.
Wait,
that's how it works because Vegas tries to get an even amount of money on both sides.
I'm not a gambler. I don't know anything about like the over, the under, the spread. I get the gist of it of like who is favored and to win by how much, right? Isn't that the whole shtick?
Yeah, and so then you bet if the team is going to win by more than that amount of points or less than that amount of points.
Yeah.
And they try to set the line at a spot where they get action on both sides. Mm-hmm. So people betting the cover or not to cover. And if the line opens up as Buffalo favored by 1, but so many people are betting on Baltimore, then the line is going to shift toward Baltimore to try to get more people to bet on Buffalo. Okay,
but the house always wins.
That's why the house always wins, because they're shifting. The goalpost is moving.
Whatever.
So they're trying to get money on both sides there. Yeah.
Look, my grandparents were in Louisville, Kentucky. I learned how to bet on horses with Oreos when I was a small child. And then later it was like actual money. And mom and dad told us we could go like take the money to like Target or Toys R Us and buy Barbies afterwards. I got burned the first time and I stopped. I quit. My sister lost like all of her money. I don't think she had any money left to go buy Barbies. So I don't gamble.
You did not turn into Pete Rose. R.I.P. to Pete Rose. He passed away. That was the guy that bet on baseball and got kicked out.
Is that the guy that just died?
Yeah, recently.
Oh.
Yeah. Pete Rose.
What a name.
That and what a hitter
we
too.
Hardly knew ye. Well,
every time Tom Brady was on camera tonight, I kept thinking that's the female Margot Lombardi.
Great.
I kept thinking, well, no, you should say that's the male Margot Lombardi, right? Yeah.
I hope Tom Brady is not a female Margot Lombardi. That would be really disturbing for a lot of reasons.
Oh, man. Steve thinks that the Rams can win tomorrow. They have a good defensive line and offensive line. Stafford is a good QB with protection. Can rush him. He crumbles. Can't escape the rush. Yeah, but he gets the ball out quick, and if you run the football, then you could protect the quarterback. You got some fans on there, Margot.
Someone asked me what my favorite Barbie was, and honestly, it's probably a Breyer horse, which is not a Barbie. So, secret option C.
Margot has a stronger arm than Purdy. I think Margot has a pretty strong arm.
No, I don't.
But
I don't.
I'm not sure that that's the case, guys.
Hate exercising. Hate it. How many picks did Goff throw? I think he threw 4.
He threw 3. But
he threw 3.
Jamison Williams threw 1, the receiver on the trick play.
On that trick play. That's right. Man, that was a serious pick he threw. He threw it right to him. Right to him.
Somebody said Mac Jones has better playoff stats. What are you talking about? No, he doesn't have better playoff stats than Purdy.
Is Mac Jones
still
playing
you can't
football?
Just say stuff to say stuff. Mac Jones might have played one playoff game.
Hold on. Wasn't Mac Jones the quarterback for Alabama?
Yes.
And wasn't he the starting quarterback for the Patriots?
Until he wasn't. And now he's the backup in Jacksonville, I want to say. But when he was the Patriots, I think they won one playoff game. Wait, so is he getting game time?
Because didn't Trevor Lawrence get seriously injured at the end of the season? So was Mac Jones
he played suited a little bit? Yeah, he suited up.
Wow.
Yeah. But guys, Brock Purdy is 4-2 in the playoffs. One of the losses, he blew up his elbow, so not really his fault. The other loss was in overtime to the Chiefs. Oh my God.
Mike! Yes!
He's there.
Took me a second, but I got my privacy settings working. What's going on?
Oh my God. This is the first time Mike on the show here. We're going to go all caps.
Live.
All caps. Mike. He has made it.
So
it should be on the right side.
Okay, I have questions. How long did it take you to grow your mustache? Was it difficult? How does your wife feel about it? How do your children feel about it? Can you please indulge us?
So for my 20s, I basically had a beard. So I would say sometime in October, I shaved the beard, and my wife wanted the mustache, so I kept the mustache.
I love it.
Mike is in the house. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It's Mike.
In the flesh.
Mike is hot. You got fans, Mike. Yeah. You got fans.
It's a little strange, but okay.
Yeah.
Was that Riley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riley has the hots for Brock Purdy in the chat.
Oh, yes. Man.
Yes.
The chat is going crazy today.
Mike 2028.
That's from Mufasa. Mufasa was D'Amico Ryan's nickname. The Niners coaching staff called him Mufasa.
I see that. He has a very stoic Mufasa-like expression on his face. He's a leader. He's for sure.
Absolutely a leader.
Mike, what's your reaction to the game?
I mean, it's what I expected from Jared Goff. If you're relying on your quarterback to win the game, he's going to let you down. That's the type of quarterback that Jared Goff is. He needs basically similar to Sam Darnold. He's an offensive line that is protecting him. You're trying to get the ball out of his hand quickly. You're trying to make sure your offense is not prone to needing Jared Goff to win the game for you.
I think it went beyond that, Mike. I mean, they ran for over 200 yards. Yeah. They have a good offensive line. He just made some boneheaded throws today. That pick six was inexcusable, just sailed it. And especially given the situation. And earlier in the game, the fumble, that was on 3rd and 1, right? That was a So, okay, what happened? That was interesting to me. They were planning to go for it on 4th down. And so what Ben Johnson said is, I'm going to be aggressive on 3rd down. I'm going to take a shot at the end zone. If I don't if it's incomplete, we're just going to run it on 4th. But he paid the ultimate price because Goff fumbled the 3rd down, right? So they tried to put it into his hands, like you said, but it didn't pay off for him and ended up biting him in the ass.
It reminded me the way that Ben Johnson kind of relied on the run game to kind of try to at least come back when Jimmy Garoppolo was it 2021 versus the Vikings in the playoffs when they just ran the ball the rest of the game.
19. That was the 19.
There we go.
Yeah, because Jimmy threw that pick. I think Kendricks, right? Was that Kendricks that picked it? Who later reneged on his contract with the 49ers. He didn't sign it, so they had to sign Devondre Campbell. That's a small world. It's crazy. But anyway, Campbell picked off Jimmy, and then Kyle Shanahan just ran the rest of the game, and it didn't really matter because they beat them. And then the next week they ran for 300 yards against the Packers. What's funny is Jimmy played really well in the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl that year. He threw a lot, and then I think he took the helmet-to-helmet hit, and it all went downhill for the 49ers. But I get the comparison. I absolutely do. Today, Jared Goff fell off very precipitously. Yeah, very precipitously. I've never seen anything like it, Mike. I've never seen a team run for over 200 yards and the quarterback played that poorly. Now, normally when you see a 200-plus yard performance on the ground against the bad defense, I mean, Washington is not a good defense. Normally the quarterback can play clean football, but
I think
Goff did not.
The big issue with the Commanders' defense was their secondary during the season, and today they looked great. Their rookie corner, their slot corner, got that interception.
Yeah,
the big play. The big thing with Goff moving forward is how do they look without Ben Johnson? Who do they hire? And you start to question Dan Campbell as a coach. Like, what does he bring to the table? Because he's the CEO type, right? So he's not necessarily, leading the offense or leading the defense.
Yep, and we talked about that with our Detroit Lions fan friend today, DJ. I was talking to, I think you were talking to Allie at the time.
Yeah.
But it was super interesting to me that they hired Dan Campbell, and he was basically just had like tight ends coach background. You see all these teams hiring coordinators.
Oh, he was a tight end coach? That makes so much sense.
And he had never called plays, and he doesn't call plays. So people were skeptical at the time when Detroit hired him, and obviously he's answered that skepticism. But the big issue for him is going to be, how does he recover from losing his staff? Because now he definitely will this offseason. And when Shanahan loses somebody that's an offensive assistant, it hurts, but the be-all, end-all, the buck stops with Shanahan. He's still calling the plays, right? So the 49ers have had that advantage. Detroit will not.
And they're losing both.
Reload the staff. What?
They're going to lose potentially their defensive coordinator and their offensive coordinator.
And I love their defensive coordinator. I think he did the best he could, Aaron Glenn, that was a decimated defense. I mean, you got to give him credit. The fact that the Lions made it this far, got the 1 seed, all that, through all the injuries, they deserve credit, but they didn't have, and when with that quarterback, I've been on the Goff isn't that good train for a while. I think that draftism is the reason that people think that he's some kind of, top level quarterback. Yeah. He was the number 1 pick. Who cares? He's still limited. Right. And we saw that today.
I mean, it shows why McVay moved off of him. You can't win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
No. Or you have to have a healthy defense. Like, right. So the Lions, they wasn't a good defense anymore because they were so hurt. I think they could have won the Super Bowl with Goff if the defense was healthy and they had Aiden Hutchinson and other guys, but you can't have him carry the team.
I mean, let's say if their defense is healthy and they're playing one of these elite quarterbacks on the AFC side, still, it's a difficult task.
I think that's an interesting question.
This one right here?
Yeah.
The big one?
The big one.
Here, hold on.
Yeah.
David and Lady Lombardi, do you think the OC and DC were distracted because of the head coaching interviews? This is, Mike, you love this kind of stuff too. You like the team building stuff.
Yeah.
Margo, you first. You think there was distractions?
I mean, how can you, I think it just depends on how great those individuals are at compartmentalizing. And I think most humans are pretty terrible at it. The idea that you're just not going to think about something that could really determine your future. It's really can be distracting in a high pressure environment.
I agree, but I also think that looking at the game, I think that the coaches called a good game. I thought that Ben Johnson emptied out.
I think they're one and the same. Like if you're interviewing for a head coaching job and then you have to turn around and like go be a great defensive or offensive coordinator or special teams coach, you are incentivized to coach well because that will also, ideally progress your pickings for head coach opportunities. What
do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I guess the only thing is they did have the bye week, and I think they interviewed during the bye week. The 49ers interviewed their passing game defensive coordinator or defensive specialist, I should say. Another person who was probably, that's added task. I can't really detail how complicated that could be. But I mean, in the playoff environment, coming off of a bye week, can't imagine that's easy to kind of do two things at once that you're kind of really focused on.
Yeah. Humans are typically pretty terrible at multitasking.
Master here says it's difficult to win in the NFL, to get to the NFC or AFC title game, let alone the Super Bowl. Shanahan has done this multiple times, yet fans still call for his job. A little perspective, people.
I think people are getting a big dose of perspective this weekend.
Playoffs has been, last weekend too. It's been all perspective. And then when you see Detroit lose the way that they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the most explosive, dramatic, whoa, kind of crazy playoff game we've had, clearly.
Who do you have tomorrow, Mike? Do you think the Rams can get it done in Philly? I saw that snow might be in the forecast.
Yeah, I think it helps that Stafford has a really big arm in that environment. I think it would help him. Hurts, I'm assuming he's going to use his legs to try to kind of similar to how C.J. Stroud today was using his legs. So
that's a great comparison. I like that.
I think Philly is just a better team, but I've been saying I think Stafford is the better QB, but you're right. The legs, especially if it's a wet weather snow game,
can really make or break.
I think that it probably helps the mobile quarterback more than it does the immobile quarterback with the big arm. And
can you give me an example of an immobile quarterback?
Matthew
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jimmy
Another
Garoppolo
thing
after his ACL tear.
I kind of just look at the matchups, right? Looking at Commanders versus Rams or Commanders versus Eagles, I kind of rather see a Commanders versus Eagles game. So I'm rooting for the Eagles.
Oh, a Commanders-Eagles game would be fire.
Well, so that goes back. There's some history there. It was back. Washington and Philly played the body bag game in, I think it was 1990, 1991. The body bag game. Yeah, this is some cool history. So this actually was very related to the game where the Niners came in Philly and then Brock Purdy blew up his elbow. Buddy Ryan was the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles in the 80s and early 90s. And his Eagles and he himself bragged and proclaimed before the game that they were going to destroy Washington to the extent that Washington would need body bags to leave the stadium.
That's a little grotesque.
Then the game started and like 7 players got carted off. Like it actually and
like the cart.
Yeah, like
with the guy driving and everything.
And the Eagles players, this is at the old Veterans Stadium. There's
the worst.
The old Philly Stadium. I guess it was really rat infested. It was terrible. That was where they threw snowballs at Santa Claus at this stadium. And anyway, at this stadium, this body bag game happened. As players were getting carted off, the Eagles players would taunt Washington and they'd be like, "We're going to need more body bags. We're going to need more body bags."
That's disgusting.
And it got to the point where both the starter and the backup quarterback got knocked out. So the Washington team had to play its running back, Brian Mitchell, as quarterback. And it was the first time since, or like when the Niners.
What year was this?
1990 or 1991.
Okay.
So when the Niners came in and all their quarterbacks got hurt in the NFC Championship game with Purdy and Josh Johnson, and they had to start playing McCaffrey at running back, at quarterback.
Yeah.
That was the first time that had happened in a game of that magnitude since the body bag game. And both of those games happened in Philadelphia.
Wow. So how cheerful.
That's Washington Philly history. Those two
lovely
division rivals, they hate each other. You talk about teams that hate each other.
Clearly.
Those two teams hate each other.
I mean, the Commanders are, used to be the Redskins, but they haven't had the success since Joe Gibbs was their head coach. So it's kind of exciting for that.
Joe was there at the game today.
Was he? That's awesome.
Yeah, they showed him down on the sideline. You were, you weren't by the TV. I was like, "Hey, it's Joe Gibbs, the old coach of Washington." They won the Super Bowl in 91.
Yeah.
So I think the body bag game was in 90, if I remember correctly, because then Washington was one of the best teams in history in 91. The old Hogs, they called them the Hogs.
Mm-hmm. The offensive line.
Yeah, the offensive line. That was an awesome team. And then the Niners and the Cowboys would take over the league by 92. The Cowboys, technically, 92, 93, and then the Niners, 94. And then we have the stat that you sent me. The only NFC team to not have played an NFC title game since 1995 is the Cowboys. You can't make this up. It's crazy.
Yep.
Jerry Jones just needs to let go and let God.
Oh. It's interesting to see how that team has turned into just
a dumpster fire.
Yeah, and I guess if the thought was even trying to go get Bill Belichick, he would never come there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no. Seeing how much the front office meddles, I mean, to give people an idea, Jerry Jones runs a press conference, like a press gaggle in the locker room after every game.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, that would be like, what, Jed York having a press conference in the locker room? It's insane to think of.
Yeah, it's about the players in the locker room. Here comes the owner, and then he gets all of the attention to come to him. So, and all the press indulges him too. It's like,
can we talk about Deion
Sanders going
to Dallas?
Well,
yeah.
Do you think that has a chance, Mike, or is that losing steam?
No, there's not even
stay relevant.
A couple things. I think it could be a tactic for Deion to just re-up on his contract with the with Colorado, but there's nothing scheduled. So I'm assuming they're going to go Kellen Moore. It just makes the most sense. So
Kellen left for just a year, right?
2 years ago, he was fired. McCarthy got rid of him as the OC because he was forced. Jerry forced Kellen Moore to be the OC for McCarthy when he was hired. And then he lasted 2 years. And then he went to San Diego last year with Staley, and then was fired with them, and then went to the Eagles.
Got it. And he's doing a good job with the Eagles. Hey, I see so much of 2022 San Francisco and this year's Philadelphia team with not with the quarterback injuries and stuff, but with Saquon and Christian McCaffrey. You know, those parallels. Saquon Barkley has allowed that Philadelphia offense to just turbocharge the run game, and then I think Purdy's better than Hurts. I get all that, but I'm not trying to debate that right now. I'm just trying to talk about the general offensive structure around a superstar running back. And these superstar running backs, man, they're back. They're back in style. You know, so many years where the running back was disrespected. Everybody was saying you could just plug anybody in. Now it's the superstars that are still alive in this league, right? Derrick Henry, we get to watch him tomorrow.
I mean, that Eagles. Go ahead, Mike.
Go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think a lot of it has to do with how defenses have evolved, especially like the linebackers, secondary to corners. Everything's gotten smaller. The linebacker play in the early 2090s, you had really big linebackers, and now they're a lot thinner. A lot, Fred Warner's still really big. He's one of the exceptions, right? But a lot of the teams around the league, they just don't have the linebacker play, and I think that's where running backs are able to take advantage. With their speed and their size.
Yeah. Taking a look to see if we have any more super chats.
There is one that I saw.
James said, I'm here late, so maybe you already covered this. This was the epitome of how to play complementary football, offense, defense, and teams as one. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Washington's secondary really stepped up today. So they made the most out of the fact that it's not a great defense. They played to their strengths. And obviously, Jayden Daniels is so good. The special teams, what happened on special teams today? Oh, the onside kick recovery.
That was big.
Zach Ertz. Yeah, that was huge. No, really impressive win. And they've got that 49ers peak DNA in them with Adam Peters. He learned how to build the team in San Francisco.
Yeah,
and
I mean, they're playing with mojo.
And they're playing with that same kind of verve. And that
they'll be fun to watch, whoever they play in the NFC.
We're gonna be in New York City, and we're one of the bars we're gonna swing by is the Washington bar.
Yeah,
we have to find it.
They need good Commanders bars in Manhattan.
So Margo and I will be in New York on next Sunday, and we're gonna go to do a 4-bar crawl, like 14 bar crawl. We're gonna go to all the bars of the NFC and AFC
championship. Do we have to go to a
games.
Chiefs bar?
No, because the Chiefs. Oh yeah, they're gonna be in it. God damn it!
I don't want to go to a Chiefs bar.
Yeah,
Mike, what were you gonna say?
The one thing with the Commanders that is impressive is Adam Peters cut the entire Ron Rivera draft class the past 2 years. This year, he got rid of basically the entire draft class. Put a lot of veteran players mixed in with a big rookie class, and just to make this run has been pretty cool to see that you can turn around one of the worst teams in the league to potentially one of the best teams.
Mike, there's a question for you. Should Purdy reset the quarterback market? I'm going to put you on the spot.
So, does it really matter what the quarterback market is, right? A lot of talk about the AP wide. It's more like we've talked about on the channel, the structure of when those cap hits hit and how you're able to adapt to each cap hit every single year, right? So with Purdy, yeah, he'll end up with a contract above $60 million, but you're not going to see those hit the cap until 2028, 2029. And by then, you're probably able to restructure and move that money down the line, or potentially, if he's continued to play, you might just extend him even further and kind of push out the cap hits even further back. So I'm not sure that the reaction that we're seeing currently in 49ers land on the X platform really is as big as it should be, right? I think the process is, how can we, if you're going to pay Purdy, now you kind of have to adapt to what he does best. And I think that's where the offense needs to move in, and getting an offensive line or a center that can kind of help. And like, I would love to see Purdy have time in the pocket and not have to be Superman on every play that we saw this year.
Imagine if Brock Purdy had Detroit's offensive line. I mean, it would be insane.
Well, now you're just playing fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. So, he was able to put up this historic season last year with below average pass protection. This is what Mike was talking about. Just wanted to illustrate it. We put out the first really detailed Brock Purdy contract projection. If you want to check it out, by the way, go to the San Francisco Standard, and it's up there. I'll even tweet it out again. I think I tweeted it out late in this game, so you can go check that out. But this is the contract structure that I proposed because it mirrors the structure of what the 49ers have done in the past. And they would actually, even if they paid him $61 million per year on the average, they'd be able to keep the salary cap hit in 2025 at $15 million, in 2026 at 23, in 2027 at 29. And they'd even be able to be more aggressive than that. I just wanted to illustrate. By the time that it got big in 2028, they would have flexibility to restructure or do whatever they needed to with the deal.
It really kind of seems like a waterfall effect. As somebody who doesn't have any sort of formal education experience and like structuring salary caps or within an NFL organization, just being, around him and obviously Mike, doing all of their research here and going through the numbers, like it literally just looks like, okay, that you have this 1 million hit, say it's just like water going over a waterfall, but it's just different buckets of money in different waves. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look at this. This is cascading effect.
Yeah.
But you're able to do it because the bonuses are prorated. So if you pay him $70 million in signing bonus, only it divides by 5 because it stretches out over 5 years.
Right.
So only $14 million has to hit each year. So if you structure it right, which for some reason, like not all of the NFL structures this right. Like the Cowboys gave this deal to Dak Prescott. That was like, what are they doing? They like made the cap hit. What was it, Mike? Like 60 million in the first year?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think this year it jumps to like in the 70s. It's front loaded, and it doesn't make sense in the way where the 49ers and the Eagles are the teams that lead with the cap strategies. They're the ones that really have transformed. You could throw in the Saints because the 49ers have used a lot of the structure that they've used where they kind of push money, clear up space, but they're in a different way that the 49ers use it. But the Cowboys make 0 sense, especially in a place where they are like, they could have made a run if they had spent money this offseason.
So Mike, what I'm hearing you say is that Jerry Jones needs to start watching the Lombardi Lounge for some tips on how to manage his cap.
I think they're in the business to make money, and I don't think they're necessarily in the business to win Super Bowls like they were in the 90s. I think he had that when he was, was he in the 50 when he was 50 years old? He won all those Super Bowls, and I don't think he's capable while being GM.
It's almost like they're trying to monetize the brand of the Cowboys and not win.
Well, which is crazy because the best way to monetize the brand is to win, right? Like,
yeah, you would think it's one and the same, but somehow it's different.
But they are making the playoffs in the past 10 years, right? They're just not winning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they always lose and
they don't make the NFC Championship.
They don't make the NFC Championship. Like they only get as far as the divisional round, and then
they run into the 49ers.
It's absolutely wild to me though that it's basic economics, finance. Like the salary cap is rising every year. You'd rather have your payments go later. It's like they're saying no to the 0 interest loan, and the 49ers are very happily saying yes to the 0 interest loan.
Do you think that's just so ingrained with the Cowboys' identity? Do you think they're ever going to be able to get away from that?
Well,
or do you think Jerry Jones will have to be
I would assume, and I don't want to put this because I don't know, but I'd assume this might be one of Jerry Jones's last hires, right? He's in his 80s. He's not going to live forever, and
I mean, he's going to try.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But
the grave, but
you got to assume that this could be one of his last hires, and you want to hit it right. And I'd assume if I was him, I'd want to go all out and try to win. But I'd assume Stephen Jones, his son, is now the one who's basically in the GM role. And I assume that's what the family business will be. It'll be controlling every aspect of the business and see how it plays out. We'll see how that goes. I mean, look, they hit in the draft, right? They're draft oriented. They just don't spend money in free agency. And they, for a cash rich, probably one of the most cash rich teams, probably leads the league. They're just not willing to do the things that the league are, they advance to, right? They're using, I like to say they're manipulating the cap.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the 49ers are doing, especially like creating this mass amount of cap space that they're rolling over year to year. That's just a cheat code because you're able to, instead of having a cap space of 275, now you're at 315. That's kind of a secret sauce that no one else is doing. And I think that's something that we're going to start to see around the league, where you're able to just restructure all these contracts, have a bunch of cap space for a full year, and then roll it over to the next.
Yep. Niners have done a really good job of that. One more time, just to give people the little illustration of how into this piece, I talked a lot about how much they're carrying over, the most in the NFL, $50 million from 2024 to 2025. They have enough money to build a team around Purdy this next offseason and still roll a lot over. So it's going to be fascinating. But the question of should Purdy reset the quarterback market? Well, hopefully this answered it for you. The article is up on the San Francisco Standard. Now we got a lot of people saying the Lions are frauds. I think the Lions are a good team. They just weren't as good. I think
they were a good team. I think they kind of just, ran out of gas.
Yeah, they were good, but they weren't great this year. I think that they were a great regular season team, but that happens, especially when the quarterback position is good but not great, as we saw.
All right, Mike, who you got in the games tomorrow?
So I'm going the Bills to win the Super Bowl. So I'm going Bills tomorrow, and then Eagles as well. And then I'll have, I guess, an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl. I just don't think the Commanders are going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think this will be a great place to lose for them in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they'll be able to walk out with their heads held high.
Well, I gotta shut this guy down. He's like, build a team around Purdy. The team was already built before he got there. Yeah, before. Stuff doesn't last in the NFL. The 49ers had the number 26 defense in the league this year. They had the number 32 special teams.
Sad.
So you do need to build the team around Brock Purdy.
Very sad.
People acting like this is the 2022 49ers.
How many? Hey, David, how many points did the special teams give up this year? Was it
65?
Oh, it was 65.
Negative
I thought it was
65
55
expected points. Yeah.
And I don't want to bag on anybody, but like the offense is not necessarily built around Purdy. He fits Kyle Shanahan's scheme very well, but like
he's not the only piece to the puzzle here.
But Purdy has taken what they had with Garoppolo with the short game. He might not be as good at the short game, but boy, is he better going intermediate and deep, right? And he can run around. So it's not a Debo catch and run offense as much as it used to be.
And with Ayuk out of the picture this year, basically the entire year, it was really reliant on Debo to take that lead, and it ended up being Juwan Jennings who took that and should have been a 1,000-yard receiver. I just don't think Debo fits with Purdy very well, and I think that's a thing that you really need to start developing, getting Pearsall opportunities to mix in this year, and I think that's where you kind of have to adapt in the passing game.
Well, they had, to your point, with all the guys that were out, they averaged the lowest average yards of separation per throw last year. So the receivers just weren't getting open because they didn't have Ayuk. They didn't have McCaffrey. Debo Samuel's not a separator. He's a bulldozer. There's value in that, but as Mike said, there's not as much value in that when your quarterback is throwing downfield looking for separation.
Yeah, so that's a good take, Mike. Okay, so Mike's got the Eagles and the Bills.
That's what I have.
That's what you have.
What do you have? You think the Rams are going to get it done?
I think the Rams are gonna surprise everybody. Just to pick something different from y'all, but I am Team Bills. I think the Buffalo fans are kind of the underdog here in this huge race.
We got this awesome opportunity.
The franchise is the underdog, but I do think that the Bills and Josh Allen could get it done.
We've been on the Bills train, Margo and I, the San Francisco Standard.
All aboard.
Sent out a photographer. It was so fun because they wanted to follow you and me around to the team bars in San Francisco.
They wanted to follow him around.
Oh, well, I'm trying to give you some credit.
I was the plus one.
And so I picked a couple of the bars and I told, okay, the photographer can come here. and the New Orleans Saints bar, the Black Magic Voodoo Lounge, which is over in on Lombard and Van Ness. But then in North Beach, they've got the North Star Cafe.
Super fun.
Which is the Bills
It's not
bar.
a cafe. It's a bar.
And
it's an Eagles bar.
Well, I was about to get to that. But first off, we were there on a Bills game, and it was so energetic. And
we
met
there
all
was
these
like a
Buffalo
gong and
people.
everything. I mean, it was so much energy. It was so fun.
And then I went to Buffalo a couple months after, and the people were awesome in Buffalo. They're just having fun in the snow, and it's like, oh my gosh,
They're
lost
kind of just happy to
Super
be there.
Bowls. That sucks. They got to win one at some point.
Yeah, there's a really beautiful resiliency that I think you build up as a Buffalo Bills fan.
So this bar, though, it is also, as you said, the Eagles bar. So when they play at the same time, they have to like subdivide it. Like half of it's Eagles fans.
Like 2/3 of it is really Bills fans. And then like a third of it is Eagles fans.
Because the Eagles have a few other bars around the city.
Sure.
So the Bills fans are all in one spot. But if the Eagles and the Bills play in the Super Bowl, this place is going to be...
It's going to be lit.
It's going to blow up.
Not to be all 2022 with lit, but it will be lit.
That is a couple years old.
It is a couple years old.
You're showing your age.
I am just self-aware, okay? I'm not a cool Gen Z whippersnapper here, but...
I think it's time to wrap it. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Mike?
Yeah. Last thought on Brock Purdy. He went to the NFC Championship as a rookie, took the 49ers to the Super Bowl in his sophomore year. Then the team got entirely injured, and everyone wants to jump off Brock Purdy because of it. I think people need to slow down and allow him. Like he's worth the contract that he's going to get. Like, you can win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. He has proven it. Jared Goff has not.
No.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl with the Rams and got absolutely dominated by Bill Belichick and the Patriots. It's really important to note that last year, again, I mentioned this earlier in the show, Purdy was more efficient than Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Like he went toe to toe. If a punt doesn't hit off of Darrell Luter Jr.'s leg, the 49ers are Super Bowl champions. The fact they didn't win isn't Brock Purdy's fault.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
So it is a shoulda, coulda, woulda. I get it, but you project moving forward based on data and based on you see whose fault it
Previous
was. Right?
Success.
Yeah.
And experience.
Or failures.
Mileage.
So I think Mike has great points, and we'll see moving forward. And also, Mike, I will say, though, that you said everybody's saying that. I think a very vocal minority is saying that, but I think the vast majority of people are reasonable on this. That's what I would think.
The vast majority of football fans are logic loving.
I think that the loud ones on social media are not, but that it just goes back to the people we run into on the street, people that are actual humans.
Yeah, real humans are typically pretty nice.
Yeah.
They're a lot nicer than the ones you meet online.
You get to the fringe.
I think it's also recency bias, right? I think people are just overly reactive to what they have seen recently in the past couple weeks.
Whatever is the most recent game in their head, like that's the tape. That's what they're basing decisions off of. But that's what makes football fun. It's constantly changing.
Go watch the Detroit Lions 49ers game in the playoffs last year. Like just the fourth quarter alone.
Go watch the Lions 49ers game this year. Like that was a good game.
The difference in the game last year, Lions and Niners, was the quarterback position. I will say that forever. When one of the guys was able to escape the pocket and make plays, the Niners had him, and the other guy wasn't able to escape, and they pressured him, and the Lions couldn't convert fourth downs. Like Purdy is better than Goff. Like I think that it's time for people to forget the draft positioning, watch the tape, look at the numbers. I mean, everything is in alignment here. So, except for the loudmouths online.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, I think everybody's super happy to see you, Mike. Thanks for
round of applause for Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Mustache. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Mustache is epic.
It was fun.
Sourdough Sam could never.
I don't know. There's some mean mustaches at Levi's when I go. So
you're gonna make it out to a game next year? You try to make it to one a year, don't you?
I try to. Yep. Yeah. See, I had tickets this year. I could have went to any game I wanted to, and I couldn't. I wanted to wait for Christian McCaffrey to come back, and then they just there was a point where I couldn't.
November.
I didn't want to go.
Yeah. Well, you can watch the 49ers pummel the Tennessee Titans in home game next year.
That's true. That's happening at Levi's. Then we get to find out if we're going to Berlin, Mexico City, or London. I would prefer
no. Spain.
No, Spain is off the table. Who got the Spain games?
Are we playing in Mexico City?
It's possible because we don't know who's playing there yet, but the Texans.
I thought there was a Mexican.
There is. I thought it was Texans versus the Broncos.
That was an incorrect report. It was
speculation.
Speculation. Yeah. Yes. Not an actual accredited source.
Yeah.
The Midger game would be really cool, though.
I think
what game? The Madrid. Yeah, but they announced who's playing in it, and it's not an opponent of the 49ers.
So it's either the Indianapolis Colts in Berlin, or it's the Cleveland Browns in London.
Mm-hmm. I'd be all for Berlin just because I think personally, it'd be really cool. But
he's going to Berlin.
I hope it's early in the season.
Berlin. Sorry, Euro Trip reference.
I'm sorry.
Have you seen Euro Trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the driver?
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near Berlin.
And on that note,
if the 49ers are picked for that game, I'm going to tweet that out.
Just that. Look for the clue.
Sorry, were you saying something serious?
Nope.
Cool. I think we've broken some records on this with total viewers. This has been a lot of fun. So
much fun.
I didn't really expect it since
we will be back after. Which game is first tomorrow?
We'll be back after Eagles Packers is first because the
Eagles
Rams.
Rams.
Packers are history. It's time for me to sign off.
Tap out.
We'll be back after Eagles Rams. Then we're going to go over to your parents for the first half of Ravens Bills, and then we'll be back here in the studio. That's going to be the big deal.
It's going to be epic.
Everybody's going to be excited about that game.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I love this. This is fun. We wouldn't. Hey, if the Niners had made the playoffs, we wouldn't be able to sit here and do this. So everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason.
All right, Mike. Thanks, man.
Bye, Gal.
Bye, Mike.
We'll see you. That was Mike.
He's so awesome.
That was the legend himself.
Man, he does so much behind the scenes. It's we couldn't do this without him.
Yeah. Mike is really, really good. Been together doing this channel since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the most viewed channel on 49ers YouTube. We get the most views by far out of anybody. And I have to credit Mike for instilling the belief and handling the technical aspect of things to get us to this point. And
he makes it so easy.
We're only going to continue to grow. And I have to thank you too.
Oh,
you've been awesome too. And it's awesome to give you a little bit more
like colorful commentary.
So people like Margot on the channel, keep on encouraging her. And she'll be on more because she loves that kind of stuff. So
David's like, as long as your ego gets fluffed.
No, I didn't say that. I implied
no, as long as no one expects me to be an expert on this stuff. I do retain some of it, but I'm not in the weeds necessarily with a lot.
And I think that a lot of people are going to be watching football casually, especially if it's a team full of superstars, and they appreciate
the playoffs
the
and the playoffs. So. The playoffs are fun, and we're all kind of like learning about these teams because the Niners aren't necessarily in the run at this time of year, and we're looking at crazy games and some great matchups tomorrow.
Yeah. Again, this has been fun. Thank you guys this was a great night for the most viewed channel covering the 49ers. We had Margot on, and then we had the mustache Mike on.
Mike with the stash.
Really, really good stuff. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.